The Vietnam War, a proxy war in the deep jungles of Asia, a jungle hellscape of guerrilla fighters, napalm, and rock music. The effects of Vietnam are most obviously seen in the Americans who still cope with shell shock almost 50 years later. However, these shattered veterans are not the only ones affected by the war and the eventual Northern victory. For those who were affected, things did not all of a sudden snap back to reality after the fall of Saigon. Economic stagnation was on the horizon. Lines were drawn between once close brothers, and a young generation of Americans had made up their minds. This is the aftermath of Vietnam. The economy is one of the best ways to scale a country's success. In Vietnam, the communist victory gave new opportunity for Marxist theories to be tested. Since before the war, the northern Vietnamese had been subsidized by China and the Soviet Union. Now that they were in control of a unified nation, Russian aid was slowly increasing, while China slowly backed out. Along with this, free trade was slowly shut down as state enterprises became more common. In theory, the state's success was guaranteed if leaders could fully adhere to its goals, however impossible they may be. Like most planned economies, Vietnam saw very little in the way of boom or bust, maintaining a steady, unremarkable second world status. With the dismantling of the Soviet Union, Vietnam lost its greatest ally. Because of this, the country started to reinvent itself in a similar way to China. Strict socialist policies were relaxed, as they could no longer rely on the Russians. Foreign trade and investment were welcomed back into the country, and the nation's GDP grew substantially through the early 2000s. Today, Vietnam's economic situation is above average, only benefiting from the demise of the largest communist country of the time. The economy of Vietnam has been rescued by separating itself from communism, but some people never got that chance. The Hmong people have lived in Vietnam for hundreds of years after moving from China. A culture of closely knit families and brotherhoods, this love was put to the test during the war. As the Cold War reached their nation, the Hmong dug their roots deep into capitalism or communism, opposed to their fellow man. Radicalized by the war raging around them, many Hmong joined the South and many others sided with the North. As time would tell us, the Viet Cong in the North were victorious, which meant dire consequences for their capitalist traders. Thousands of Hmong were hunted down by their fellow man, and those who could escaped to Western nations. A large number landed in the United States, and around the 1990s, those who fled to the United States and neighboring countries slowly returned to their homeland, whether it be only to visit with family and friends or to move back for good. Even today, the two sides view the Vietnam War as a taboo topic, and is only brought up around like-minded individuals who will not pinch any sensitive nerves. In the end, the Hmong have somewhat preserved their family-oriented way of life after facing its toughest challenge. Despite being an ocean away, Vietnam proved to be very influential for young Americans. Protests for and against the war broke out across the country as people drew different conclusions from the horrors they witnessed on TV. Some saw war as the only way of defeating evil, while others saw unnecessary loss of life. Others were easily swayed by catchy slogans or caved into peer pressure. No matter where you went, everyone had an opinion on Vietnam, but not everyone had their own opinion. America was more divided than it was during the Civil War a century before. After the fall of Saigon, many began to wonder if the two superpowers were just two sides of the same coin, nations that would exploit powerless allies to prove their ideology was superior. Either way, this polarizing topic solidified citizens' views of America's other military campaigns for decades to come, from El Salvador to Afghanistan.